you should wants to look around that end, just so that their feet can't.
He's got I think his condition's quite fine.
Don't judge. They're pretty naughty patients, these platypus. Easy man. Get your bloody outfit organised, real cranky.
They're so amazing, aren't they?
I'm so tired. Yeah, so pop him on the towel. Give him the old Nelson cuddle.
This was a bit safer because I could put a belt around. In February.
So we say that
But he's nice and fat now.
He's ready to go.
He's got nice big spurs.
Yeah.
These different platypus. Yeah. That'd be great. So today was really exciting. We have had a juvenile male platypus in care. He was found in the middle of a road up at Mount Baw back in February as a newly emerged baby. So we don't think he'd actually been in the water at that point. He seemed to get a bit lost because he was found by some bike riders who brought him all the way to Hillsville Sanctuary. And we have fed him up. He's grown nice and strong, and he was ready to be released back to the wild. So we've come up to Mount Baw today to find a suitable home for him, and we've released him straight into the water. It was really hard to find a suitable spot to release him because he wasn't found near a river or a water body of any kind. He was found in the middle of a road, which is not the right spot for a platypus. So normally we try to find the closest suitable habitat to where he was found, but in this case we wandered around for a little while not finding any creek or river. Luckily we came across some frog researchers who were able to guide us in the right direction, and they recommended a beautiful stream just behind me here. It flows year round, it has a really nice reliable water source, and it has good connectivity to other smaller streams around, and also a really good food supply. We saw lots of dragonflies buzzing around, of which the larvae is the main food source for the platypus. So I feel really good that we've released him in the right spot. So we're not really sure how juveniles develop out in the wild, whether their mothers teach them anything or some of the skills that we learned, but we do know what skills they do need to survive, and they largely include finding their own food in a variety of challenging circumstances. They need to swim through really strong water currents and in a variety of water levels. They also need to create burrows or find their own shelter in the riverbank. So we set up a series of trials over the last few months to challenge him and make sure that he was ready to be released out into the wild. It was so exciting to see him head straight out there. He was confident, he was strong. He didn't dart away immediately. He took in all of his surroundings, and he looked like he was ready to survive. And this is ultimately why we do the job that we do, and why we have put so much effort into rehabilitating him, just to give him the best chance when he does actually return to where he's meant to be.
It is my first release and it's been absolutely amazing. So we do see patients coming through and we do the vet work for them, but we don't always have the opportunity to be out here seeing them go back to where they came, so it's been absolutely amazing. He was a little bit quiet. He'd travelled a fair distance. He was underweight when he arrived, so he didn't have a lot of energy stores, and he was dehydrated. So when he came, he was a little bit lethargic, but we had one of our vets check him over on arrival, make sure there was nothing major. We rehydrated him, and then we booked him in for a full assessment the next day after he'd had some rest. Yeah, there was a few minor things. So he had an injury to his right eye. His conjunctiva was red and swollen. He was a bit blinky, but that actually cleared up within a few days, which was really nice. That turned out to be just a leech bite, so an incidental finding. And it wasn't until we did the other tests, so the blood tests, that told us his true situation. So that's when we found out that he was a little bit anemic and that he was carrying some parasites. So it's not uncommon for animals that have been out on their own for a little while that aren't coping well. So in this case, he didn't have his mum around to help him, and he'd been out of the water for too long. And so he had become anemic with his parasite burdens, and the fact that he'd been away from mum for so long. So in this case, it was mostly supportive care. So we did do injectable fluids to rehydrate him. We removed the parasites from him with some medications. And the rest of it was really just feeding him up so that his body could replenish and could make some new blood cells. And he did that. It took about 3 months to do that, but he did it. That was a really awesome release. To see him, he just left with confidence. He didn't flee in fear or fright. He was strong enough to stand against the currents. He ticked all of the boxes as far as a release goes. That was a really lovely release.